Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next webinar in the Good to Great Schools series, where we showcase to you the products that we've developed to help support you in your classroom delivery. Today, our webinar is titled Visual Arts That Connect and Inspire, where we're focusing on two year levels, Foundation and Year 3, and selecting two lessons out of that series to present to you so you can see the scope of what we do. My name is Julie Grantham. I'm a former principal, teacher, and Director General of Education in Queensland, and it's my pleasure to be able to lead the webinar today. Over the next 30 to 35 minutes, we'll explore how our approach to developing our resources will empower you, the teacher, and help you to simplify your lesson delivery and support you in engaging with students and developing their love of learning. We're not all confident in art. I know from personal experience that when we're doing lessons in learning areas that are outside our comfort zone, we do tend to look for this support. And I think today you'll find that support. So let's move on to some housekeeping before we start. There's a question and answer button there on the bottom, on the ribbon of that screen. At any time throughout the webinar, if you would like to, please pop a question into that and we'll answer those at the end. Also, if you'd like to see all our presenters, if you select Gallery View in the View tab. I have two people with me today who are going to support me in our presentation, Sarah and Solaire, who are both very experienced educators. And so I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves. Over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Julie. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Hodgson-Brown, and I'm the Visual Arts Team Lead here at Good to Great Schools Australia. I've been teaching art for over 13 years, and my background includes supporting both teachers and students in developing skills in things like printmaking, ceramics, painting, drawing, just to name a few. I also have extensive experience in designing and implementing art curricula that are practical, engaging, and grounded in best practice.
Thanks, Sarah. Solaire.
Hi, I'm Solaire. So I work alongside Sarah as a curriculum developer at the UDSA, and my background's in primary education, and within my career I've worked a lot on the development of curriculum, coaching teachers to get the best student outcomes, and have a personal love of the teaching of art and seeing how students really benefit from high quality art, developing their confidence, and something I really love.
It's great to have you both with us today. And already I think you can feel that enthusiasm that both our developers have for their subject area, and I'm sure that that will come out more as we go on. So today about our webinar, we're going to walk you through proven strategies that will help you build the confidence and the creativity of the little ones that you're teaching. We want you to understand and see how the lessons are structured in our effective teaching models. How that you can rely on that consistency, how you can rely on the fact that the lessons are developed so that you know exactly what to do, when to do it, what resources to have. So all that thinking has been done for you. One of the things we know about every teacher is that you are time poor. And so this is about saying to you, we will do the planning, you do the preparation to deliver this lesson in the best way that you can. So already across Australia, we know that more than 50% of schools in Australia already use our materials, and not just in visual arts, but in English, in maths, in science, art, religion, and health and physical education. And we see that, as I said, about reducing that workload, that demand on teacher time. And because we have based all our lesson development on evidence-based research on effective teaching, you will see and can feel confident that the way you're presenting the content of your lessons is very much immersed in best practice. So when these sorts of programs are actually delivered right across a school, the great thing you get is that cohesion and that good practice and that lift in every classroom. So I hope by the end of today's presentation, you'll see that. I'm going to ask Sarah and Solaire to actually walk us through now where they start with the unit, you know, what they look for. The one thing I love about when we do the visual arts webinars is all the great the creativity that you just see that comes through, and the way they think about their approaches in making sure that these lessons are just spectacular. So Sarah, over to you as the lead developer.
Thanks so much, Julie. In these units, you're going to be provided with resources that are truly ready to teach. So this means that you can step into the classroom knowing, as Julie mentioned, that everything is already laid out for you. These units are designed to support the development of really high quality art programs. So whether you're nervous as a new teacher or an experienced one who just doesn't have the time, you've got really consistent, reliable tools to work with. Everything is purposeful and strategy based. So there's no busy work, no fluff, just creative, well-structured lessons that make sense and feel good to teach.
And I think one of that things around that creativity is that each unit is built around a central theme. So it supports the development of the key skills and concepts, but also encourages some creative expression. So for teachers, this approach provides a clear framework for scaffolding learning and assessing their progress over time. And the themes connect art to the student lives and the world around them, giving meaning to their practice and helping develop them as artists.
So the unit structure includes 9 ready-to-go lessons, which are fully aligned with the Australian curriculum. So planning is easy. The curriculum requirements are already covered for you. The lessons combine skills building and creative projects across different media, so it keeps students engaged with really purposeful learning. And what I really like about this program is how it takes the stress out of planning and gives you the freedom to focus on inspiring your students. It's about knowing that you've got a clear, reliable structure to support you every step of the way. So let's take a look now at the units that we have on offer. So we've got 4 units in the first unit 1A, which covers foundation through year 3. And each has a clear, meaningful conceptual focus that helps you connect skill building to real world ideas. So you're going to find detailed unit descriptions, as you can see listed here in the resources provided to you. But just to give you an overview, from self-portraits and foundation to nature and cultural explorations, all the way to art making that inspires change, the program offers rich, engaging content at every level. And what I really appreciate is how these concepts give your teaching depth and direction, which makes it easier to guide students while keeping lessons fresh and relevant. So today we're going to share highlights from both Foundation and Year 3 to give you a clear snapshot of the program's breadth and how it can support your classroom.
Lovely, thanks, Sarah. So we're going to kick off with Year Foundation. So this unit theme is art and me. So students in Unit 1A will be exploring self-portraits. And as I'm sure you can agree, all young children love to draw themselves, their family, their house, their cat, their dog. And so what we really love about this unit is we're actually providing the artistic tools, ideas, opportunities for them to develop this and have a lot of fun drawing themselves and expressing themselves in their art. It also is going to set the groundwork for colour theory and the concept of line and shape, which are really important processes in art that they're going to use going forward. So each unit has 9 lessons, and you can see here the 9 learning objectives. And these have been really carefully thought out. So just to kind of talk you through how these progress, if we take a look at lesson 3, students are learning the names of primary and secondary colours and how to mix them. By lesson 4, they're mixing them and applying them to their self-portrait they made in lesson 2. By lesson 5, they're building on this, learning warm and cool colours. And then by lesson 6, which we're actually going to look at today, they're designing a collage self-portrait using warm and cool colours, using their knowledge from lesson 1 with shapes and line, and kind of bringing that learning together. So it's building step by step, really scaffolded, and you can see the progress over time. So, as I mentioned, we're going to take a look at lesson 6, and it's hard to choose one of our favourites, but this lesson teaches students how to create a self-portrait collage even, and lesson 6 of 9. So, what I love about this lesson is it builds on that learning. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at warm and cool colours. They're expressing their sense of self, and it's a moment where you're going to see the technical skills and personal creativity meet, as they're going to be making choices about how they show themselves in their art. So as an art teacher, seeing students use the skills to create artwork, and the pride they have when they produce something really spectacular is just awesome. So each lesson follows a clear and consistent structure. We have an opening phase, main phase, and a closing phase. And we're going to talk you through that structure as we go through this lesson. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be starting with the opening phase. So you'll see opportunities in this to revisit, reinforce the key concepts like warm and cool colours for this lesson. And it's a chance for you to check for understanding, address misconceptions, and ensure students are making their connections to their previous learning. So in this lesson, students are going to be making a collage self-portrait using warm or cool colours. And we have there in the learning objective what they're going to do and a little sneak peek of the artwork they'll make, as well as really clear success criteria of how they're going to achieve that. So they're engaging already in what they're going to be doing in this lesson, and they know how to be successful.
So in this next part of the lesson, we focus on activating prior knowledge, and this gives students a chance to connect the day's learning to their own lived experiences and preferences. And we're going to take a look now at the introduction of vocabulary.
And this is something you'll see in all of the lessons. We feel that's really important that children are given the vocabulary that they need so they can talk about their artwork, they can ask the right questions, and they can discuss it at a higher level. So you can see here, it's animated to make it easy for you as a teacher to stop and unpick the vocabulary. And these words will then be used throughout the lesson. So it's really great way of getting them talking art.
So now we're going to touch base on the I do, we do, you do cycle that we use to communicate with direct instruction in these lessons. So this is the I do, we do, you do model, which makes delivering it a lot easier with built-in support. And here's how it helps you. So we start first by reviewing key ideas, again, as mentioned, like warm and cool colors, and the collage concept. So students come in prepared for the lesson. Then the new idea, which is, in this case, collage self-portraiture, is introduced through a clear think aloud. So you model the creative process in a way that students can really follow. Next, during the we do phase, students get guided practice with your feedback, helping them build confidence. And then there's a quick check for understanding to ensure everyone's ready to work independently. And this is great because it gives you peace of mind before moving on. What I really appreciate about this cycle of an approach is how it makes sure that every single learner has a clear entry point into the lesson objective before we even begin, setting everyone up for success right from the start.
And then after that, we're going to be moving into a demo video. And I know this is something Sarah and we love creating these because it gives us a chance to do some art at our desks. So these videos will kind of model the steps, and we're going to play a little bit of that for you today so you can get a taster.
Now I'll cut out the other parts of my face. I will cut out shapes for eyebrows, a nose and mouth. I can use different colours to add detail. I will add my ears, neck and hair.
And you can see there how the tasks are broken down into step-by-step instructions, helping students stay on track and provide that scaffolding that's needed. So following the demo video, we then use video stills to guide students through and remind them of each step of the art making. And for foundation, we break that down with some we do, so it's really guided, and they can all kind of achieve this together. And you as a teacher can make sure everyone's on track. We recognise for younger children, giving them a big list of steps to complete is overwhelming. So breaking that down really helps them all to be successful. And by the end, by the you do, this really showcases how the scaffolded guidance can lead to creative autonomy. And we recognise that every self-portrait in this lesson will look a bit different. And that's something we think is really valuable as artists and art teachers.
After the students have completed their work, we move into the reflection and closing part of the lesson. So in this part, students are invited to, at foundation level, identify their favorite part of the lesson, and real-life examples of what favorite means are provided to support student understanding. And each lesson in the unit follows this same consistent routine we're about to look at, designed to review learning, reflect on the process, and consolidate key concepts. So this simple but powerful groundwork lays the foundation for more detailed reflection in later years. For example, by year 3, students will be using this same method of placing a sticker alongside written annotations about their artwork at the end of every lesson.
And I know, Sarah, later you're going to go into a bit more detail about those annotations in year 3. So following that is something that we love. It is coming into the art walk. This is the opportunity at the end of every lesson for students to celebrate and share their learning. We recognise for some students, this can feel a bit scary at first, but it is part of the consistent routine, and we put in a lot of work to build up their confidence and also that respect in the classroom community about when we look at artwork and what we see and how it can help us personally as an artist when we see the work of others. So it's a real chance for you as a teacher to see that growth and celebrate all of your learners and their artistic journey. So finally, we're going on to that reviewing of that key learning, and we think it's really important. It's at the forefront of students' minds, what they need to capture and take away from the lesson. And following that, we go into a bit of quiet reflection. And this is a chance for them to think about their own self-growth and themselves as an artist. Before the final bit, we give them a little taster of what they'll be doing in the next lesson. So that is a very brief little run through of one of the lessons that we have for Foundation and the awesome work that our lovely Foundation children will be achieving when they're completing this unit.
And so there I can just see those little ones just loving that. As you say, they love drawing the pictures of themselves, their family, their dog, everyone's included. So it's always lovely. Everyone, we just want to take a little breath for a minute and just get your feedback for us. What we'll be doing a survey at the end of the webinar. But now I would like to know, what do you see has been the most valuable part of that lesson that you just saw? So remember, that was lesson 6 out of the Foundation unit. And we've got 5 areas that you may take the time to say, I love this bit. But if we haven't captured what you want, or you would like to feed back to us, what is that other? If you pop that into the question and answer, we can come back and just talk about that. But it's also great feedback to Solaire and to Sarah to say, we would like to see more of that or more of this. But take a minute there to just click on one of those options to tell us and give us some feedback on where you are so far. What was your favourite, most valuable part of that lesson that you just saw? Okay, so it builds the technical art skills and the creativity. And I think that would be something that I would say too, that it would give me the confidence as a non-artist to actually deliver an engaging and inspiring lesson for students to make sure that they're loving what they're doing. So that's great. Ready to teach, no planning required. I think that's the thing that every teacher that joins our membership, that is the feedback we constantly get back. Sarah, one of the things though that we haven't talked about or touched on is the student workbook. So we've talked about the teacher, what the teacher will get, that step-by-step, what resources you need, everything's set out. What about the students? What do they get?
So this program comes with all of the resources for you to use immediately in your classroom. And one of the most important pieces of that is our student workbook. So these have been carefully designed to make your teaching more effective and efficient. So let's take a look. On the left, you'll see a page from the lesson. And on the right, this is the corresponding page from the student workbook. So the student workbooks are used alongside the lesson tasks at various stages to capture and reinforce learning. So this is how it's going to help you. So you're going to be able to guide students through new examples using familiar routines that are reinforced for them directly in the student workbook. And the workbook scaffolds thinking, so you're going to spend less time repeating instructions. Students can track along with you for certain steps.
And sorry, Sarah, you finish.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say how great it is that everything that the students are doing is organised. It's there for their reflection. It's there for them to continue their learning. And, that workbook to match up to each of the lessons, I think, is an important part of the development.
Yeah, that's right. It really is one tool to teach, support, and capture learning all in one place. It makes marking really easy. It makes getting a snapshot for formative assessment really easy at the end of a lesson, and it's all just ready in there for you to use.
Yeah. And all the assessment, everything's in there. So before we go on to our highlight for year 3, I would like to remind you that, this is the time to put in a question. I see we've got one brave soul that we'll answer, and Mitchell, we'll come back to that at the end of the lesson. And Mitchell's just wondering, what was the we do part in the self-portrait lesson? They saw the I do, but then the students were creating their portraits. So sorry if I missed that part. So we'll come back to that, Mitchell, and I'll ask Sarah or Solaire to answer that. Let's look at that year 3 highlight, Sarah. So again, you're going to talk about the unit, and then you're going to look at a particular lesson within that series, that unit series.
That's right. So let's dive in now to the year 3 unit called Art in Action. And when I visited Australia many years ago, I was, as most people are, completely blown away by the beauty of the Great Barrier Reef. And seeing firsthand how fragile it is made me really realize how important it is for young people to express their connection to the environment and to see themselves as agents for change. So this unit has been designed with that in mind. So in this unit, students explore environmental advocacy through hands-on clay projects. So they start by researching climate change's impact on the oceans, and then they create a coral sculpture installation to raise awareness about coral bleaching. So this class coral installation is really awesome because it connects art with activism and making a difference, and is really visible for the entire school community. So what I really love about this unit is how it gives you, and as we've been saying, a ready-made way to engage students, but in this case with a real-world issue while developing clay skills and creativity. So it makes your lessons both impactful and inspiring. So let's just take a look at the learning objectives. These are going to guide a clear progression of skills and knowledge, as Saleha already spoke to for foundation, which makes it easy for you to support student growth. And they also expose students to practicing artists. So this brings real world inspiration into your classroom. And what really stands out to me is how this helps students develop skills while staying connected to art and events that are current and happening right now.
So this year 3 unit follows the same format as foundation. Those familiar scaffolding skills is there to support both you and your students. But it's expanding on that foundation with longer, more in-depth project. And so you're going to see in this lesson how students move from identifying their learning in foundation to creating those detailed reflections and actually really working through this beautiful coral project to the final exhibition in year 9, lesson 9. So really developing their understanding and thinking about art.
So let's take a moment to dive into a lesson from this unit, lesson 5, so you can really feel how it flows and what it offers. I just wanted to share, when I was putting this lesson together, my 6-year-old daughter sat beside me making her own little clay creatures. And it really reminded me how natural and joyful this kind of creative learning is, especially for young kids. And I think many of us have seen how some students really struggle in traditional subjects. But here with something tangible and creative, these same students often find their confidence and voice. And I really believe that that's an amazing thing to be able to witness.
Great. So as with foundation, we're going to be kicking off the lesson with recite, recall, apply. And this is that routine, ensuring that valuable reflection, maintaining the pace in the lesson, and getting children to have time for the best bit, the making. So as a teacher, you know that we're all on track, but also it's just embedded as a routine. So it's there ready for you, and you can be sure that you're launching into something that students are ready for.
So when we hit the lesson objective, this lesson in particular focuses on building the students' first of 3 coral sculptures. And just to catch you up, by this point, they've already learned key clay building techniques and are ready to apply them independently. So many students might have had some previous experience with clay, and we really encourage them to bring that into their work by really valuing what they already know.
So we're looking again at that vocabulary, and I know it was mentioned about those technical skills, and so we think this vocabulary is so important for you as a teacher as well as the students to really develop their artistic talking. And for me, you know, Sarah's an expert in clay. Actually, some of this vocabulary as a teacher, it's great for me to be reminded what these words mean and how to make sure that I'm using them correctly in the classroom. So everyone's all on the same page and they can use this vocabulary with mastery.
Thanks, Alea. So this is the lead into the art task, and it will be familiar to you because it follows exactly the same format as in Foundation, where we review concepts to really solidify and make sure that all students are on the same page before we begin. So we're reviewing, in this case, concepts like how artists use clay tools to make marks, and it helps you reinforce essential skills, again, like I said, before students move forward. So students are going to also revisit their coral reef research and their coral drawings from earlier in the unit to remind them what they need to express in clay. So partnered planning time helps consolidate their understanding, but this also gives teachers, again, as the question came up about the we do, so an opportunity for teachers to observe and do a check to make sure that they're ready to dive into the main task. And in my classroom, I saw how this planning stage, partnered planning stage in particular, sparked great conversation between students. So they helped each other notice details they might have missed and built excitement for the clay work ahead. So in this part of the lesson, key concepts from previous lessons are reviewed. So like how artists use clay tools to make marks. And this is that check before we move on to the independent practice of the lesson.
We've got lots of engaged, excited students, and now they're going to watch that demo video. So let's take a quick look at it just to get an idea of what this would look like in year 3.
Very strong by pulling that clay down and across. You might want to start on the edge of your base like I have done, or you might want to start in the middle of the base, whatever works for you. Now I get to repeat because the coral arms are
So after the video, each step or part of the process is provided in an individual review slide. So this is also just a heads up, it's in the student workbook. So students are able to follow along and they have it listed for them for a student reference later on. And this extra review acts as a clear checkpoint, making sure that all students start the task on the same page. And what you might notice is how this structure helps keep the class organized, lets you target support exactly where it's needed. So we're moving now into the annotation part of the lesson. So the students will have had an opportunity to work on their clay. They're going to have about 25 minutes to work independently. And then we shift gears a bit and move into the annotation part of the lesson. And so what's great for teachers is this section focuses on helping students reflect on their learning in a way that's simple and meaningful for both them and you. So let's take a look at how it works. This section begins with a review first of the key vocabulary for writing their annotations. So the teacher, in terms of writing the annotations, the teacher's going to start by modeling the example, and then students are going to complete one together to build confidence and make a check. And then students write their own sentence starter independently, which gives you a quick snapshot of their understanding and is also used for assessment purposes. The one thing I love most about this part of the lesson, the annotation section, is seeing how reflection helps students feel proud of their progress and more connected to their creative journey. So we're going to now talk about how the lesson wraps up. This part of the lesson supports teachers by providing a structured way to build classroom community, which is so important and such a beautiful opportunity when teaching art, because it really celebrates student confidence through sharing and celebrating their work with one another. So at the end, students revisit key ideas like clay building techniques and reflect on what they've discovered about themselves as artists. And this reflection and sharing encourages them to see themselves as creators with a real sense of ownership over their work. So just to conclude with the year 3 lesson that we presented, I just want to say that while teaching this unit, you might notice that art lessons like this create a unique space for students who struggle in other subjects to discover strengths maybe they didn't know that they had. So when they engage hands-on and express themselves creatively, their confidence grows. And that shift often changes how teachers see and support them. So the reason for this is because it often reveals talents and resilience beyond other kinds of learning modalities found in traditional subjects. And I really want to stress that this is a powerful, really powerful opportunity for you to reach all learners in a new way. So imagine students moving through the classroom, working with their hands, celebrating each other, solving problems with creativity and curiosity. So it's a really special opportunity, and most importantly for the students, it's fun. We're now going to talk about the teacher, which is the other resource alongside the student workbook. So Saleha, why don't you take that away?
Exactly. And I was going to say that I couldn't agree with you more, that when you see those students who perhaps lack confidence in other subjects, like thriving and their confidence growing, it's just magic. That's what I love about teaching art. So this is really important for you as the teacher. This is the teaching guide. So this is going to make it so easy for you because it provides the step-by-step instructions, clear guidance, and notes for each slide. And you'll notice a lot of the slides are quite visual, and that's intentional for the students. But behind the scenes, you've got this teacher guide that's going to be giving almost the script for you so that you can provide that explicit modeling. So you can see on the page on the left and the notes on the right, the guide's going to help you to explain what's happening in the slide and what you need from students, keeping your instruction focused and efficient. And it means that it provides you with the confidence to deliver the lesson, even if it's your first time or you're a bit nervous about teaching art. And then going forward, you can see how actually we've got the slide, the student workbook, and the teacher guide, and these all align seamlessly. So it's going to help you to stay organized, deliver the lessons confidently, and then the students are really going to benefit from the consistent and clear learning expectations and learning experience.
And that alignment is so clear, Saleha, when you look at that, where you can see each part is so carefully married up. Before we move on, can I remind you that we've still got Mitchell's question in the question and answer. But if you've got a comment on what you've seen, what did you particularly like? For me, the illustrations and the selection of the illustrations as these developers have put these products together, I just think they're spectacular. They demonstrate and make that connection that you were talking about, Sarah, between a real life issue and an important issue for the students, but then how they can immerse themselves in that art. I see Fiona's popped in a question: how do I track the student progress? So at the end, I'll get Sarah to answer Mitchell's question, and Saleha, you will be answering Fiona's. So I'm giving you pre-warning. And Deborah asks, is a kiln required for the clay sculpture? So Sarah, you might want to answer that one now before we move on.
Definitely. Not every school is blessed with a kiln and a clay suite in their school. So this unit actually uses air dry clay. So you'll be able to just let it rest in the air and it's ready to go.
That's great. And it's true. I mean, you don't want to have that. Schools won't want a big expenditure when they're delivering these units. So it's important that the developers have given thought to that, Deborah, and made sure that this doesn't exclude schools from being able to implement these visual arts units. So what we've seen now are the curriculum resources in a package. What you saw with the teaching guides, you've seen the student workbooks. You've seen how all the resources are put together so that you can actually deliver on these units. But one of the things that I think is very important is how we prepare our teachers for it, because we can't just go into these units without having given thought to the pedagogy and the practices that we use in the classroom. So I want to take you through what we call our mastery teaching pathway. And this is our platform for professional learning, because one of the things that we know that we can support teachers best with is how to deliver and how to develop their practices, their techniques, their repertoire of skills that they can apply in the classroom. So we have what we call a mastery teaching pathway. And I love this comment from one of our principals in a Northern Territory school, that because it's available 24/7, it's a way of schools can do everything in one meeting, or teachers can do it independently at home, that they never felt threatened when they were participating in that practice and that learning. And because people all learn at different pace, one of the things we know can happen is that people will access this, can revisit it, and then perfect that delivery into the classroom. So our professional learning has a range of modules, and on our website you will find all these modules. We've got course modules, and they focus on the effective teaching knowledge and the practices you use in the classroom. We then go into program modules, and we would call visual arts a program module. And I'm going to ask Solaire to talk about the program module that supports the delivery of this unit. We have practice modules where you go back and you may be an instruction coach or someone who's in charge of curriculum, and you've observed a lesson, and you might go back and say, Julie, I think you need to do more of this. There's a practice module you can watch. Go and watch it and then try and apply those skills in your classroom. And they can watch it over and over again until they've actually perfected that skill. So practice modules are a very important feature of what we do. And then lastly, we've got collegial modules, and I've seen these done so well on student free days, pupil free days, whatever it's called in your jurisdiction, where school teams can actually break into groups and learn from each other while they cover and develop their knowledge of really important information through what we call our learning labs. So they're small group workshops that are really handy for developing over a period of time some really in-depth knowledge. Solaire, can you just talk us through the Teach Visual Arts? So this is one of our program modules in our Mastery Teaching Pathway.
Absolutely. So as Julie said, it's that comprehensive knowledge. So this program module will talk you through and give you real in-depth knowledge about what the unit's about, how to teach it, all of the different components, the kind of practice behind those and why those are there. But also what Sarah and I were really passionate about including in this was to give you additional skills as the teacher teaching art. So there are specific lessons within that module on the teaching of painting, drawing, collage, and actually just some top tips for you as a teacher, how to facilitate that in your classroom. You know, we know that, I know some of you are already going, 30 kids doing clay, that sounds terrifying. But within that kind of program module, we've got some real top tips, how to set up the stations, how to facilitate good flow, storage, how to clean the brushes and make sure you're taking care of these resources. We know they're really valuable in school. So I'd really encourage you to take a look at that module because it's going to give you everything you need to kind of support you to deliver the best possible art lessons.
And Solaire, I'd reinforce that it's really important that before you do the modules and deliver these units into classrooms, that you sit down and go through and really prepare yourself by engaging in this module, Teach Visual Arts. Let's go back to the questions. So Mitchell's question, what was the we do in the first lesson when they were doing the collage?
Yes, so the I do. Soleil, did you want to speak to that, or I can if you like?
Well, I was just going to say, as you know, kind of the foundation was my passion subject. I don't know, Sarah, if you're happy to switch on those questions. Sorry, Julie, we're breaking the rules.
No problem.
But I was going to say, so the we do in that, and I know we skipped on it a little bit, but it was actually looking at self-portrait collages and looking at the shapes within a face. So it's getting students to notice that, this eyebrow, I could use it, is a rectangle shape. That's the kind of shape I could cut out to show my eyebrow. And you saw that again in the demo video where I was modeling, I could use this circle shape for my eye. I could use this kind of shape for my nose. So that we do that guided practice was kind of the first opportunity. And then they see that and practice that again in the final outcome.
Great. And Sarah, Fiona's asked, how do I track the student progress?
Yeah, that's right. So we have the student workbook as a place where this stuff is going to be documented. So you have that as a place for student progress. And then there's a formative, so after at lesson 4 is treated like a formative assessment opportunity. And so the task is designed to come to some sort of semi-completion that's suitable for a formative assessment piece. And then we have the summative assessment at the end. And at each of these stages, there's a rubric specifically for this stage provided for you to carry out your assessments. So you can collect your anecdotal information through the documentation that's in the student workbook. And then you have these 2 other assessment opportunities, which are going to pull both the art making, the physical things the students are making, and the student workbook into that easy to use rubric to assess the progress they're making.
So one of the other questions we often get asked is how can the visual arts unit be incorporated into a cross-curricular presentation? And I think you touched on it earlier in your presentation, but do you just want to expand on that?
Sure, definitely. So, I mean, a very obvious one in year 3 is that it's got other implications for current events, particularly in subjects like English, where current events are really used as a way to make their learning relevant. So there's wonderful ties across the thematic aspects of the units in things also like civics and other things where there's relevant activities happening. Also to the vocabulary, the stress on vocabulary and using vocabulary as a way to talk about their work and create annotations in their work was really important for us to have a strong literacy connection that it can be reinforced in other subject areas. And of course, just looking at the way that students are reflecting about their work, it's a wonderful opportunity to, if you're teaching every subject in your classroom, to tie it into other reflection opportunities in other lessons, in other subject areas, in particular where it has to do with reflecting on their own growth and how they see themselves as a learner. And that was really intentional because we feel like that's actually really relevant in every subject area, is that metacognitive, looking back and seeing who am I, and modeling that really explicitly in visual art so that it can be placed or used as a touchstone in other subject areas too.
Thanks, Sarah. Melanie's got 2 questions. She couldn't get a sound to work at the beginning of the session, but she's asked how long is each session. So I'm assuming how long is each lesson. We know that there's 9 lessons per unit. How long is each lesson? I'm assuming, Melanie, if I'm interpreting your question correctly. So
that's right. So each lesson is 45 minutes long with 25 minutes block for the independent art making task.
Great, thank you. And one more from Deborah. What's the fee for the professional learning module? Can it be done online? So let me take you through to that. And I'll answer that question, Deborah, because there's no fee for any of this. All that those lessons you've seen today are all available for free, as is all that professional learning. And because it is done online, and because you download your resources online and you complete your module online, there is no fee for any of that. So it's a very comprehensive, accessible package available 24/7. There's 2 ways to sign up, and as an individual member, you yourself can sign up by scanning that barcode there, or your school can sign up as a partner school membership. There are a few extra tools if we can get a whole school sign up, and not just for that, getting that access to more premium curriculum and tracking and how to manage data. But for me, it was about how you get a lift across a school when you're using lessons that are so well designed and so engaging and across your curriculum, across your year levels, and knowing that every classroom has that effective teaching happening. I think that the partner school membership benefits schools in that way. If you are interested in a partner school membership, there's an email address there. It would be great. Just email us and we'll make sure your school gets signed up. But, by being a member of this, everything is free. It's not a sales pitch. We're not out to make money. We're simply here today to share with you all this good work that will help make sure that the lifting classrooms across Australia is supported by great resources. So I think that'll bring us to the end of our webinar today. We have another webinar. The next one is July the 17th. And it's how to implement direct instruction, and that's just focusing on the tools for schools delivering direct instruction programs. There are thousands of schools across Australia delivering their programs using direct instruction. So please, if you have time, join us for that on July the 17th. We're conscious of school holidays coming up in some states. But we know that, that also enables teachers to have more time to come online and to share and to look at all these wonderful products that we have available to you. Don't forget that at the end of this, when I finish and sign off, there'll be a quick survey. And please, it'd be great if you could just take the time to give us some feedback because we want our webinars to satisfy your need. And if there's something in particular you'd like to engage in or for us to present, we're very happy to bring our developers, our experts into any of the learning areas to share our great products with you. I'd like to thank Solaire and Sarah today. I love, as I said, these visual arts because I just, the love and the enthusiasm and their commitment to what they do is just so evident. And I think they share that with us so openly. So thank you both for joining us today. And everyone else, we're signing off and hope to see you again on July the 17th. Thank you and see you then. Bye now.